Namaste, Yogi Veronique here with our tutorial for Humble Warrior. We're going to be looking at Warrior 1 and ways to enter and exit our Humble Warrior. So when you're ready, come and join me on the mat. We'll start from Tadasana Mountain Pose, and then you'll bring, let's start with the right foot forward and the left foot back. So as you can see, my feet are on railroad tracks. That front knee is directly above the ankle and the back leg is nice and active. The tendency for our warrior is that the hips open out to the side, and we're really looking to encourage the front hip bones forward. So if you're ever unsure what your hips are doing in your warrior shape, I always like to encourage extending your pointer fingers from here. And notice if your pointer fingers are pointing to the side, it means your hips are open. And if your pointer fingers are pointing forward, then it means that your hips are square to the front of your space. So looking at the base of the shape first, all 10 toes are spread nice and evenly. You're grounding down through all four corners of both of your feet, and the toes are relaxed, right? So when we assume any kind of lunging position, the tendency is for the toes to sort of scrunch up and hold on. So rather think about spreading the toes and really grounding down, feeling the strength of both the front leg as well as the anchor leg as well. That back foot is at a 45 degree and all of those 5 toes are at that angle. We're trying to energetically lift the back arch off of the ground so that you can ground down through the knife side edge of the foot. So from here, you'll interlace the fingers. I like to bring the same thumb to the same foot that's forward. So in this case, the right thumb is on top as you interlace your fingers like so. So your fingers are interlaced like this, and I like to seal the heels of my hands together. It's this way that you're able to find that nice traction of holding on so that you can really maintain the integrity of the shoulders. Oftentimes, if you have shoulders that are tighter, the separating of the palms is okay, but the more that you try to anchor in and start to lengthen through the arms as well, then you'll start to find more opening. So feel it out for yourself. So I'll just switch out the opposite leg so that you can see what that looks like as well. So it's the same shape. I just have the opposite foot in front, interlacing the fingers, same thumb of the foot that's in front on top. So coming into Humble Warrior, it's yogi's preference, but I like to, on an inhale, lengthen through the front leg as I extend my knuckles behind me. That really helps to encourage lengthening through the side bodies, and I can start to feel more space also across the shoulders. So just to give you a side view of what that looks like, I'm lengthening up and back. I'm extending the arms back and finding lots of space. So there is a back bend quality here. If you feel like it's dumping into your lower back, don't go as far, right? So depending on your mobility, your flexibility, finding a space, and certainly if you tend to hyperextend in your knees, like you lock the knees back in space, always have a micro bend in the knees and the elbows, particularly if you feel like you're kind of locking them and dumping into flexibility rather than strengthening the muscles that surround the joint. So you could be here, really subtle, maybe a bend in the elbows. This is a perfect place to be. So I'll show you a couple different ways to come into this Humble Warrior. The first is we're finding a belly-thigh connection, and that can be a really grounding place to find your Humble Warrior. Particularly if you feel a little bit unsteady with your balance, it's a really wonderful variation so that you can really feel stable in the shape. So once you've established space into the spine, then you'd start to come forward. So maybe your Humble Warrior looks something like this. If you're here, It's a really great place to really employ strength into the standing legs. You can activate through the core as little or as much as you're craving, and really feel that navel to spine connection. So what tends to happen in our forward folds, maybe you open up the rib cage and you get this really sort of pretty opening across the heart, but very little engagement, right? So if you can draw the tailbone down, feel the activation of the core, then we're really looking to isolate these muscles that help to support and strengthen the shape. So finding us back in that space, I'll just show you the opposite foot in front so you can see. It might feel a little bit restrictive at first, particularly if you're used to sort of coming into that natural flexibility, if you have a lot of flexibility in your spine. But try it for a while. Draw the navel in and up, extending and getting nice and broad across the collarbones. So I'm just showing you the different angles so you can get an idea of what it looks like. We're drawing that front hip crease back, engaging so much length into that front IT band, and then from that space there's a lengthening out of the shape. So you could be here building strength for some time. If you feel stable, if you want to go a little bit further, I'll show you a way to deepen the shape. Firstly, if you are a little bit nervous about the balance, always feel free in warrior one, in your crescent lunge, to have your feet as wide as the mat. What I mean by that is having the front foot, for example, if you have the right foot forward, have it all the way to the right edge of your mat, and have the left foot all the way to the left edge of your mat. So that's your most stable base. The feet are really nice and wide. Someone could come and push you and you'd stand your ground, right? The more your feet are narrower, then you're less stable. So the same thing holds true, particularly when we're diving down into this devotional warrior, so that you can really feel the anchoring in this shape. So I'll just show this to you from the side first, and then I'll show you that front view. So you inhale, find length, open up through the heart, and then as you exhale, rebend the front leg. Maybe you're staying with the torso fairly parallel to the earth and to the sky. Or if it's available, allow your torso to dive down inside of that front foot, releasing the crown of the head towards the earth and extending the knuckles up overhead. What tends to happen in order to make that happen is that front hip will start to sort of shift out. The strength in the shape and the opportunity to get really grounded in the shape is by drawing that front hip back. So all of that same action of guiding the front hip bones forward, that will really help to keep the engagement, so that once your head of the ground touches the ground, your head of the ground, the crown of your head touches the ground, sometimes we just sort of like fall into that flexibility and then lose the engagement. So rather than finding that sort of release, really bring everything into the midline and engage more. So what that would look like from the front. Inhale, lengthening, opening up, and then exhale, rebend into the front leg. I'm guiding this left hip crease back as I'm diving inside of the left leg. Sometimes I like to heel toe the back foot out just to have a little bit more of a base, like I was describing earlier, releasing the crown of the head towards the earth as I extend the knuckles towards the front of the space. The heels of the hands are touching, and I'm finding as much length into the arms as possible. To rise up, I'm grounding down particularly through the sole of that front foot, and I'm rising up. And I really like this counter shape of lengthening back through the front leg and opening up through the heart, and then coming back to that warrior one shape. So there's a lot of things happening in this warrior one into this humble warrior. It's really invigorating, and it's one of the shapes that I've been visiting lately because it is so powerful to express this forward fold while still feeling strong and uplifted. If you have any questions, please comment below. Please subscribe and share. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Namaste.